of S and N for these particular terms, then describe what happens to S of N as N increases. So partial sums means that you plot the first term, okay? So S of 1 has a value of what? 2. So the first point I'm going to plot is what? 1, 2.